Hello again, welcome to the video. It's been a little while since I got back from Toronto and Buffalo. I've kind of, just to be honest, I've been not really focused on making videos. I think I spent so much time editing the videos from that trip, and there's still one to do, that I just got sick of the idea of doing videos, but I'm back. And I thought what I'd do to kind of kick off a new phase of videos is to return to my Dave's FAVE500 listing. So these are albums that I heartily recommend, numbers 36 through to 40. So here we go. 5 great albums. Here we go. Number 1 is Billy Bragg and Talking with the Taxman About Poetry. Now, I loved Billy Bragg back in the 1980s. I'll just double check the year. I think it says 86. Yeah, it's 1986. Great picture on the back there of Billy trudging in the snow, with a guitar case there. What can I say? Yeah, loved Billy Bragg back in the day, and as I've said before, I love the way he just to bark his lyrics out of the audience with all the percussion from him coming from that cheap electric guitar that he had. And I kind of went off him when he started to introduce drums, and believed what people have said to him is that, Billy, you can actually sing, you know. Because I think all that stuff from the 90s onwards it's kind of been interesting. Even stuff like Mermaid Avenue, it's just not really grabbing me the way these early albums did. This is kind of his third album, I think it is. And this is essentially a folk album, but with that raucous guitar in there. And there's more instrumentation than we've got on the previous two efforts. So it's not just Billy here. You've got Johnny Marr on guitar. You've got Kirsty MacColl, I think, singing, yeah, background vocals. You've got John Porter on bass guitar. I think this is the John Porter who was involved with the Smiths, producing the Smiths. But you've also got like trumpet and flugelhorn. And this is a perfect marriage between his songs about relationships and his politics. He sings and writes and sings very tenderly about personal relationships, which comes through here. Levi Stubbs' Tears, The Marriage, The Warmest Room. Lovely tracks, but he's also got his explicit politics here. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind politics in music when it's really explicit. I'm not so keen about my musical heroes taking a political party stance, because their music and their lyrics should stand up and kind of signify what their political leanings are. Anyway, that's kind of my prejudice. But I love what Billy Bragg does here. Now, he's got a couple of tracks here that are really brilliant in that regard. Ideology, and There Is Power in a Union. And I'll read a couple of the lyrics here. So Ideology. Let me read through the lyrics of the first verse. When one voice rules the nation just because they're top of the pile doesn't mean their vision is the clearest. The voices of the people are falling on deaf ears. Our politicians all become careerists. How true is that? They must declare their interests, but not their company cars or properties overseas. Maybe. Is there more to a seat in Parliament than sitting on your arse? And the best of all this bad bunch are shouting to be heard above the sound of ideologies clashing. So there's 3 verses of that stuff. And there is power in a union. There is power in a factory, power in the land, power in the hand of the worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in a union. There's about 6 verses of that sort of stuff. See, I don't mind that sort of stuff. I think his politics are a bit cartoonish. But you know, this was 1986 in Thatcher's Britain, and there needed to be a pushback against the prevailing ideology that Thatcher was imposing on the country. And Thatcher didn't get it all wrong, but nor did the opposition. And Billy doesn't get it all wrong here. He's asking important questions, but it is a really grossly oversimplified view of politics. So I I enjoy the fact that he took a stand. I'm ambivalent about how well thought out that stand ultimately would prove to be. So anyway, but I still think the way he sings and bangs that guitar is just still alive and well in this third album. So, right, another album, this one from the 90s, and this, you know, back in the day I was an early adopter of CD singles. I used to buy hundreds, and there were so many were coming out faster than the market would buy them up. So in the record shops that I was shopping in, there was loads on discount, and I remember buying the CD single, the first issue of Creep by Radiohead. I don't think I've got it anymore because I sold it for a small fortune on eBay when on the a few examples of eBay activity where I've actually sold music. There's not been much of that, of course. But this album came out in 1995, and it's the second album by Radiohead, The Bends. Now, whilst Oasis and Blur were fighting over the Britpop spoils in the mid-1990s, you had bands like Suede and Radiohead who were doing more art rock, experimental music. Still popular, still drew the crowds, but not sing-along style in the way that Oasis in particular was, and still is, of course, on this reunion tour. But this is a great, great album. This is it the first? I mean, I've got the first album, but I haven't listened to it in years, so I'm so unfamiliar with it, I don't really want to say anything about it, but this is a guitar rock album, so it blends that experimentation, it blends the really quite dissonant guitars, the distorted guitars, but with some wonderful tender moments, beautiful, and some great gorgeous melodies in here as well. And of course they were going to continue this with OK Computer before they kind of dropped the guitar style and went all keyboards. But High and Dry, Fake Plastic Trees, really gorgeous. Bones has a fantastic bass line in the first part of the song, really quite aggressive and loud. Street Spirit, Fade Out, wonderful closer as well. So absolutely gorgeous album. If you're on this, if you're watching this, you'll almost certainly have this album. But yeah, The Bends by Radiohead. One of the ways that before streaming and everything back in the day, what we used to do is we used to learn about new music through the radio, or the music press, or occasionally we'd buy an album, and a combination of the listening and the music press critical commentary would lead us to a new artist. And in 1977 I bought this album, which is the debut album by Peter Gabriel. Now I'm going to talk about this album today. This will definitely appear in my FAVE500, but there's one track on side 2 which is Waiting for the Big One, and it's kind of languid bluesy number, so different from anything else he did with Genesis, and of course anything else he did on this very eclectic album. But Waiting for the Big One was referred to by at least one critic to be reminiscent of the music of this artist, and this is Randy Newman. And this is Sail Away. Now, this isn't from 1972. I don't know whether this album is third or fourth, but I bought this album on the back of a critical review of Peter Gabriel's debut album, because he's got that kind of guttural, slightly muffled tone to his voice, where he kind of seems half drunk, and it's kind of here as well. But this is an amazing album, obviously very sparse. You can see the gatefold there with all the lyrics, very sparse in terms of I say instrumentation, but it doesn't rock. It's not like a rock album at all. It doesn't feel like a singer-songwriter album, because it's not really big on guitar. It's like piano. It's all like Randy Newman and his piano. But this is the one I picked out because I knew Simon Smith and his amazing Dancing Bear from a cover by the Geordie Allen Price. But songs on here, Sail Away is a fantastic commentary on slavery. Lonely at the Top, wonderful song. That, you know, this is like a greatest hits album. He Gives Us All His Love. Simon Smith, of course. Political Science. No One Likes Us. I Don't Know Why. We May Not Be Perfect, but heaven knows we try. But all around, even our old friends put us down. Let's drop the big one and see what happens. Part of me kind of, well, sympathetic to that view sometimes. But also you've got God's Song. Absolutely gorgeous. This is God speaking on this closing track on this album. And it's all great, this album. It's really good. But he says here, man means nothing. He means less to me than the lowliest cactus flower or the humblest yucca tree. He chases round this desert because he thinks that's where I'll be. That's why I love mankind. So anyway, that's the brilliant Sail Away by Randy Newman. 1976, just a few years later, but very different. It's my favourite David Bowie album, and that is Station to Station. Why is this my favourite? Because up until that point, remember, Bowie was much more active. He was already active in the charts before I started buying music. So the first time I became really aware of him was when the Gene Genie was in the charts, and they played it on a chart rundown on a Sunday night, and I recorded it on my reel-to-reel tape recorder and kept playing it. I just loved that riff. Absolutely fantastic. But up until around Station to Station, so the mid-70s, my view on Bowie is that he's a greatest hits artist. He's a singles artist. But this is not. This is a proper album, this is. Even though it's got Golden Years, TVC15, which are kind of funky, and I think Golden Years was a single, maybe TVC15 is. I'm not a Bowie aficionado. But what attracted me to this particular album was two tracks, the opener and the closer. The opener is about 10 minutes, station to station, starts with the chuffing of a train going by, and then goes through a series of transitions, really slow and punch. I think the track is playing for about 2 or 3 minutes before Bowie's voice even comes in. But it goes through a whole series of changes through the track and is a true epic. And Wild as the Wind, which is not his song, it's a cover song. I can't remember who wrote it. But it's a gorgeous and so well delivered ballad to close the album. Beautiful. But yeah, Bowie fans will be familiar with this album. It's very popular, I know. Anyway, coming into, is it the 90s? Back in the 90s, I used to read music magazines, and there was one magazine called Uncut in the UK, probably available in North America as well, at a price, no doubt, where they put CDs on the front cover, kind of promo CDs, and there was one called what was it, the Sounds of the New West, which was a alternative country or Americana compilation. And I think I bought albums by every single artist that appeared on that CD. And I went through a phase in the 90s, which continued on, where I was deep into Americana. I wanted to do a rundown of my favorite Americana albums, but there are so many brilliant ones. I've always struggled to get around to thinking about how would I whittle this down to its say a top 10. But one of the artists I did pick up on was Whiskey Town, and that was led, I think Whiskey Town did about 2 or 3 albums maybe, and it was led by Ryan Adams. Now I know Ryan Adams is a tarnished figure in the 21st century, or really around the last few years, because I think he was involved in, was it the Me Too or accusations or domestic abuse or whatever it might be, and I think he went underground for about 3 or 4 years, and then has kind of since re-emerged with a whole series of albums. He's so prolific. I think he seems a fairly young guy, maybe 50 by now, but I think he's probably put out a couple of dozen albums. So there's so many great albums by this guy. And I did see him last year in Bath. I think I've mentioned that before. Just him solo with guitars and a piano and an erratic stage behaviour, shall we say. but what a brilliant songwriter. There's not a, I don't think there's any other artist I've come across who's got that gift for melody and being able to take the styles of other artists and integrate them into his music. It's wonderful. And this is his second solo album, and it's gold. Now, let me just double check when this was released. This was 2001. This is the double album version. I think the CD originally came out as just a single. That's downstairs. I can't be bothered to go and double check. And there were some extra tracks that were incorporated in some editions of that. But anyway, they appear on this side 4 of this double album. And it's got influences all over. He's from North Carolina, I think. He's got this delivery, the vocal delivery style, which has kind of got that southern feel. That country twang, and it's kind of, his voice is soft, but it's warm again here today, so and I'm talking too long, so the camera overheated and stopped recording. Anyway, I was talking about his voice. Southern Droll, North Carolina, I think he's from. He has this great delicate voice, but he can rock out now and again, and this album has got so many influences on it. It sounds a bit Springsteen-ish with the organ and the harmonica in the mix. Sounds very Stonesy in places. There's one track here called Tina Toledo's Street Walking Blues. It's Some Girls era Stones down to a T. But every track here, I mean the single here, New York, New York, opens the album. But every track here just demonstrates his gift for tender lyrics, his gift for melody. It's like a various artists album where every melody kind of attracts your attention, and they're quite unexpected as well. They don't always go where you expect them to go, but they're so gorgeous. He's brilliant. I thought when he first started his solo career, this album and 3 or 4 albums later, I thought this guy's as prolific as Dylan. He's what a fantastic songwriter he is. However, you can get too much of a good thing, and the albums came so thick and fast I kind of just tailed off a little bit. Still hoovered up the albums when they were on sale, but haven't really kept up thoroughly with all of his music. But his second solo album is 100% recommended. It's an absolutely brilliant album. So if you like that Americana, you like a little bit of gospel, you like a little bit of country, you like a little bit... Did I mention the Who? Some riffage on here which sounds a little bit like the Who as well. Some great piano as well. Oh, what a great album. Absolutely love it. So anyway, that's Dave's FAVE500, the latest episode. With only one edit. And that's because the camera overheated. Right, I'm back making videos, so I'll see you soon. Bye for now.